Two suns bled across the sky when the human ship fell from orbit, trailing fire like a wounded star. The elf woman, who called herself Liara Alien Mom to two dragonlings, knew a choice was coming. Save the human, or let war find him first. Liara had watched the re-entry burn for 3 heartbeats, measuring angles, winds, and the smell of ozone curling over the black glass dunes. She pressed a palm to the scaled flank of Ember, a copper hatchling the size of a wolf, who rumbled with eager curiosity. On her other side, Blue, a sapphire wisp with bright coin eyes, nuzzled her hip and chirped. "It's a human craft," Liara said softly. "And it is coming apart." Ember's whiskers shivered. Blue tilted her head. The crash came moments later. Thunder rolled across the basalt plain, followed by the high whistle of stressed metal and the solid final crunch that meant survival was unlikely. Liara tasted the air. No troop transports behind it. No escort drones. No fresh scent of the war clans that sometimes prowled her world's upper winds. That was odd. Humans never traveled alone this far from their beacon lanes. She mounted the obsidian ridge in a few graceful steps. The winds lifted her long ash-blonde hair and tugged at the dark cloak that hid her armor's faint glow. To most off-roaders, she was elf because of the pointed ears, the green-gold eyes, the stillness that unnerved the impatient. On her birth world, the name was more precise: Thalaner, keepers of treaty and fire, the people who grew bread in star-dark soils and baked cookies for children the night before their vow rites. "Stay close," she told the dragons. Ember slunk, Blue fluttered, and together they slid down toward the crater where the human ship had died. The craft was a half-eaten fruit, its shell peeled open by heat and speed. A single escape pod lay skewed in the glass sand. The hatch hissed and buckled. Liara moved before the steam cleared. A man tumbled out, coughing. He wore an emergency suit scorched along one arm, visor cracked, a name strip half burned. Adam something. He dragged the pack with both hands and then fell to his knees, retching from acceleration sickness. Liara kept the blade hidden but did not raise it. The air held no scent of hostility. Only shock, only hunger, only a thread of grief so thin it could have been wind. The man looked up and froze. Ember put a heavy paw beside Liara's boot, scales glittering. Blue hovered, tail looping like a question mark. The human's mouth opened and closed twice before a hoarse laugh escaped him. "And here I thought the recruiter oversold me," he whispered. "Alien mom with dragons. Perfect. Guess I hit the right planet after all." Liara raised an eyebrow. "Do you need a medic?" He blinked. "You speak standard. Good. I'm Adam Calder. Engineer. Strike Fleet Auxiliary. Not a spy. Not armed. At least not anymore." He patted the pack. "Just a toolbox and a very bad day." Ember's whiskers twitched in irritation. Blue chimed a note. "Curious. I am Liara of Thalaner," she said. "These are my children." "Children?" His gaze flicked between Ember's proud horns and Blue's jewel-bright eyes. "Right. Dragons. Babies. Sure. Dragonlings," she corrected, a hint of pride slipping through the discipline in her voice. "We do not keep pets. We keep promises." He stared at her like a man who found a river in a desert. "Then I owe you one. My pod auto-targeted the nearest settlement, and this is it?" Liara shook her head. "The Ridge Farms are west. You merely landed on a minefield the clans left after the war skirmish 9 cycles ago. Lucky me." He tried to stand, wobbling. "I know the word for thank you in 6 languages, but I didn't plan for elf with dragons. Teach me later." "You may thank me by walking," she said. The 4 scavenger drones smell hot metal. They moved, Adam wedging himself between the dragons for balance. Ember tolerated the closeness with the grim dignity of a young warrior. Blue fluttered above Adam's shoulder and chirped whenever his steps faltered, as if conducting him forward. On the 3rd rise, Liara paused. The sky had turned the pale color that meant machines were coming. She heard them a full minute before Adam did. The insect whir of tri-rotors, the cold hum of lidar raking the land. "Down," she said, and pushed Adam into a gulch carved by ancient water. Ember lay across the lip like a living barricade. Blue slid under Adam's arm with a protective hiss. The drones came in a silver V, dust flicking up from their rotors. "Private salvage. Fast, ruthless. They would strip the pod, then search for survivors, not out of mercy, but to sell the story of a brave rescue with a neat price tag attached. If they found a Thalaner woman with dragonlings and a lone human, they would call for higher bidders. Leora drew the thin rifle from her cloak and unfolded its limbs with a practiced snap. She did not breathe for 3 seconds, and she fired once, and twice. The first drone spiraled like a dead moth. The second veered, coughing sparks, slashed across a boulder, and died. The third turned and ran. That was not standard-issue hospitality, Adam whispered. Leora kept watching the sky. Hospitality comes later. Cookies come later. War first. He swallowed. Cookies? It is a saying, she said, though it was more than that. It was memory, her mother's hands dusted with sugar, the smell of spiced dough after a day of training, the soft sound of a dragonling asleep near the hearth. We fight wars. We bake cookies. We choose what makes us a people. Adam climbed to his knees, still breathing hard. Liara, I didn't lie. I'm not military, not really. I was part of a contract. Your world has a reputation for clean power cores. Someone wanted specs. It got messy. They scrubbed my route and sent a drone to finish the job. His voice cracked. I jumped first. Who is they? She asked. HFY. He flinched at the name like it was a burn he kept touching. And if they track the pod signature, they'll send more than used-up drones. The name tasted like rust on Leora's tongue. Vasek had funded the mercenary clans during the border wars. Vasek had bought treaty maps and sold them twice. Vasek had once offered to civilize Thalaner by buying its children. Blue hissed softly. Ember's pupils narrowed to slits. Leora looked at Adam for a long moment. You will come to the ridge farms. You will tell the elders what you know. If Vasek returns, we will be ready. Adam tried to smile and failed. Does this count as a proposal? Human need a wife? My alien mom fights wars and bakes cookies. I'm not confused about who's saving who here. She almost smiled. Almost. Walk. They reached the ridge as evening bled into night. The farms were carved from obsidian shelves where heat stored from day warmed the vines at night. Lamps glowed under windcloth canopies. Children ran between beds of glimmergrain, their laughter quick and light. Dragons the size of cats chased them, leaving comical tailprints in the dust. People paused to stare at the human, then at Leora, then at the scorch lines in the sky. No one asked needless questions. The Thalaner had learned that survival depended on timing. In the communal hall, Leora spoke to the elder Mara, whose hair had gone silver in elegant streaks. Adam sat with a bowl of sweet grain and a cup of water, hands carefully still while Ember and Blue sniffed his boots as if memorizing him. When Adam finished telling his story, Vasek's contract, the missing data, the drone that tried to erase him, Mara folded her hands. We will shelter you, she said. But those who hunt you will come. They will not leave quietly. Her eyes slid to Leora. Will you travel east to the signal towers? We must wake the circle, Leora bowed. At dawn. Mara's gaze warmed. Then eat, and show this human why we bake after battle. Blue grows when she smells sugar. Leora led Adam to a low hearth where braided breads cooled and simplest cookies lay in neat circles honey, spice, and ash salt balancing sweet with the memory of fire. She broke one and handed it to him. He took a bite, then a second, and his eyes went wet in a way that surprised them both. Not ration bars, he said hoarsely. Not lies. Not lies, Leora agreed. The hall lamps flickered as wind shifted outside. Ember raised his head. Blue's tail curled. Leora heard it first, the far-off murmur of a shuttle skimming the desert on silent runners. Not clan tech. Not friendly. Mara stood, voice steady. To posts. Leora guided Adam toward a shadowed doorway and pressed the rifle into his hands. Stay behind the bread ovens if you must. If you can aim true, do it. If not, keep your head down. He stared at the rifle like it was a question he'd never wanted to answer. I fix things, he said. I don't break them. You may fix our future tonight, she replied. Do not let Vasek write it. Outside, the night took a breath as the shuttle neared. Lights off, intent clear as a blade. Ember's growl shuddered through the floorboards. Blue's pupils turned to twin needles of ice. Liara stepped into the courtyard and lifted her chin to the dark. War first, she thought. Cookies after. And if fate insisted on matchmaking, it could wait until dawn. The night hummed with tension, the way a bowstring hums just before the arrow flies. The ridge farms had gone silent. No laughter, no music. Just a faint metallic clatter of Thalaner sentinels taking positions along the obsidian terraces. The desert wind carried the smell of burnt sand and the low growl of dragons too young to know fear. Liara crouched beside Ember and Blue behind a line of fused stones, her eyes tracing the horizon. Out there, hidden by distance and night, the faint shimmer of a House Vasic dropship was cutting through the dunes. It was moving slow, deliberate, scanning. Adam sat in the shadows behind her, the borrowed rifle across his knees. His hands trembled just enough to make the weapon click faintly when he exhaled. "You're sure they tracked the pod?" she whispered. "I'm sure," Adam said. "Vasic ships leave nothing behind. I worked on the signal relays that report debris fields. I used to think it was cleanup. Turns out it's to erase witnesses." Leora's jaw tightened. "Then they will learn that Thalaner soil does not erase easily." Ember's ears pricked up, nostrils flaring. The dragons could smell plasma engines long before humans could hear them. The copper hatchling rumbled low, tail striking the rock. Blue hovered near Leora's shoulder, wings glowing faintly with an ethereal light. "Steady," Leora murmured to them both. "Wait for my mark." The first drone arrived, a sleek silver eye on 3 narrow wings. It darted between the rock spires, scanning, broadcasting faint blue pulses. A second followed, then a third. Leora sighted along her rifle, holding her breath until the nearest drone turned to reveal its power node. One shot, a flash. The drone fell like a stone. But this time, the others didn't retreat. Instead, a voice crackled from the dark, amplified and cold. "Unregistered life forms surrender the human asset. This world remains under provisional claim by House Vasic. Resistance will be met with force." Liara's blood ran cold. Provisional claim was legal speak for conquest. She stood tall on the ridge, her silhouette framed by the twin moons. "This world belongs to no house," she said, her voice carrying. "You trespass on Thalaner soil. Leave now." Silence. Then laughter, distorted by cum static. Elf signatures detected. "You're a long way from your dying forest, Thalaner." The dropship rose over the horizon, sleek and angular, its belly guns unfolding. Leora didn't flinch. "Ember! Blue sky defense!" With a scream like thunder, the dragons launched. Ember's copper scales caught moonlight as he spiraled upward, fire blooming from his throat. Blue darted beneath the ship, slicing through the air with impossible speed. Plasma fire answered, scorching the sky. Adam watched, half in awe, half in terror. They're kids." "They are Thalaner, same as I," Leora said. "We are never too young to defend home." She reloaded, fired again. Her shot struck the dropship's left stabilizer, sending sparks into the desert wind. The craft staggered, overcorrected, then veered sideways. Adam looked at his rifle, swallowed hard, and crawled forward. "Tell me where to aim." Leora's eyes flicked to him, unreadable. "Power intake rear vent, 3 panels left of center." He nodded, took a shaky breath, and fired. The shot went wide. He cursed under his breath, adjusted, and fired again. The second bolt hit home too perfectly. The dropship lurched, venting plasma. Liara turned in surprise. "How, engineer, remember?" He said grimly. "I built those systems." The ship began to fall, slow and smoking. Liara whistled sharply 2 notes, rising. Ember and Blue banked away just in time as the craft slammed into the sand a quarter-mile away. A cloud of ash and debris rolled across the ridge like a wave. When it cleared, Adam was still on his knees, breathing hard. Ember landed beside him, eyes glowing, nostrils smoking. Blue perched on his shoulder and chirped, proud. "Good aim, human," Leora said, lowering her weapon. "Better instincts," Adam gave a shaky laugh. "And terrible luck." The rest of the night passed in tense silence. Scouts confirmed the wreckage and no survivors. The ridge farms dimmed their lights again, and the children went back to their beds, though few truly slept. Leora stayed outside, standing under the stars with her hand resting on Ember's head. Adam approached quietly, holding 2 steaming cups. "Borrowed from your kitchen," he said, offering her one. "Smells like cinnamon?" Leora accepted it, curious. Thaliner brew. To calm the heart after battle. He took a sip, winced, then laughed softly. "You could have warned me. It's like drinking fire. It keeps warriors awake," she said, eyes on the horizon. "Tomorrow, we travel east. The towers must be warned." "East?" "That's across the iron wastes. Then we start before sunrise." Adam hesitated. "Leora, if Vasek really wants me dead, won't I just make it worse by staying with you?" She turned to him, her gaze steady. "They would burn this world to erase one witness." "You cannot make it worse," Adam called her. "But you might make it right." He looked down, quiet for a moment. Then I guess I'll keep walking." Blue chirped approvingly, curling around his neck like a scarf. Leora allowed herself a small, tired smile. "Good. Dragons approve of courage." Before dawn, the ridge farms faded behind them. The world ahead glowed faintly under twin suns, endless stretches of glass desert and wind-carved stone. Ember led the way, his wings half spread. Blue circled above, singing to the sunrise. Leora walked beside Adam, silent for long minutes before finally saying, "Tell me about your world." He chuckled, dryly. "Not much to tell. It's loud, crowded. Everyone thinks they're free, but they're chained to companies like Vasek. People build machines to live better, then end up living for them. You?" "I was born in the Valley of Echoes," Leora said. "My mother commanded a battalion during the first human landing. She taught me to fight, to heal, and to bake." "Bake?" Her lips twitched. "We keep our hearts soft, even when the world hardens around us." Adam nodded, thoughtful. "My mom used to say something similar. She made these honey rolls every winter, used to say they sweetened the storms." Leora looked at him, something flickering in her eyes, recognition, maybe. Or sorrow. "Your mother and mine would have agreed on much." The wind changed. Ember roared, low and warning. Leora's head snapped up. From the east, a faint shimmer of metal cut across the horizon, too smooth to be natural. Not Vasek drones this time. Something larger. "A ship?" Adam asked. "Worse," Leora said. "A hunter." He gripped the rifle tighter. "Then what do we do?" Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp as lightning. "We survive. And we make them remember that even on the edge of the galaxy, humans and elves still fight for what they love." The sun rose like molten gold spilling across the iron wastes. Its light turned the shards of black glass into mirrors that blinded the eyes and hid the truth beneath their gleam. Heat shimmered in waves as Leora, Adam, Ember, and Blue crossed the valley floor, their shadows stretching thin behind them. For hours, no one spoke. The silence wasn't empty. It was listening. Even the dragons seemed subdued, their usual trills replaced by low hums that pulsed through the air like distant thunder. Leora moved with quiet precision, every step measured, every glance scanning the horizon. She had crossed these wastes once before, as a child carried on her mother's back during the final retreat of the Thaliner. Back then, the sky had been full of smoke and fire. Now it was only too bright, too still, a battlefield waiting to wake again. Adam broke the silence first. "Do you ever get used to it?" he asked, knowing danger's just out there waiting. She didn't look at him. "You don't get used to danger. You learn to make peace with fear." He nodded, squinting against the glare. "I'm not sure I ever learned that. I spent my whole life avoiding it, just fixing things, staying out of trouble." Leora smiled faintly. Then fate enjoys irony. Blue swooped low, chirping sharply. Ember hissed and flattened his wings. Leora stopped instantly. "What is it?" Adam asked, raising his rifle. "Tracks," Leora murmured. She knelt beside a series of depressions in the glass sand massive, clawed, half melted at the edges. Skyrant beasts. "They hunt by sound and scent." Adam's voice went tight. "How big?" She looked up at him, her green-gold eyes reflecting the harsh sunlight. "Big enough to swallow a shuttle." Before Adam could answer, A low vibration trembled through the ground. It was subtle at first, like the beat of a distant drum, but it grew quickly, a rhythmic pulse shaking dust from their boots. Liara's hand went to her blade. Move. They sprinted toward a ridge of half-buried ruins jutting from the sand. The vibration deepened into a roar as a massive shadow passed beneath the surface. The ground bulged, cracked, and exploded upward. A creature the size of a cathedral erupted from below, its hide glistening with metallic scales, eyes glowing crimson. The Skyran let out a sound like thunder breaking stone. Ember screamed back, a young dragon's challenge. Blue darted ahead, wings slicing through the heated air like glass. "Get behind me!" Leora shouted. But Adam didn't move back. He raised the rifle, aimed for the beast's face, and fired 3 shots in quick succession. Plasma bolts struck the Skyran's hide, searing but not stopping it. The creature lunged. Leora leapt sideways, dragging Adam with her. The monster's jaw hit the sand where they had stood, crushing a slab of ruined wall into dust. Ember dove, raking the creature's snout with molten claws. Blue followed, a streak of azure flame darting toward its eyes. "Ember, Blue, strike from above," Leora commanded. They obeyed instantly. Ember's wings thundered as he climbed, then folded, diving with all the fury of fire made flesh. Blue's smaller body darted around the beast's neck, distracting it. Adam crawled to a broken power conduit half buried in the ruins. His engineer's instincts kicked in. "Leora," he shouted, "there's an old relay here. If I can overload it." She parried the beast's lashing tail with a sweep of her blade, sparks flying. "Do it." He tore open the conduit, fingers flying over circuits that hadn't seen daylight in decades. The system whined to life, ancient power cells flickering. The Skyran turned toward the sound, eyes narrowing. Come on. Adam muttered, rewiring by instinct, bridging the charge. The indicator light went from red to amber. Now. Leora spun and plunged her blade into the exposed node. The explosion lit the valley like a second sun. Shockwaves rippled outward, and when the light faded, the Skyran lay still, its hide cracked, molten light leaking from its wounds. Blue landed on Adam's shoulder, trembling. Ember hovered above the creature's corpse, chest heaving. Leora stood panting, sweat tracing silver lines down her cheeks. Her armor smoked at the edges, and her hair clung to her neck. She turned toward Adam, eyes sharp. "Next time," she said, "warn me before you explode a century-old power node." Adam gave a weak laugh. "I'll try to add that to the checklist." Leora looked at him for a long moment, then said softly, "You think like a soldier. You fight like one who doesn't want to." He lowered his gaze. "I never wanted to fight anyone. I just didn't want to die with a lie in my name." Leora's expression softened. "Then live for a truth instead." They camped that night inside the ruins. The dragons curled near a flickering energy coil, their small breasts glowing faint blue. Leora sat with her back to the wall, sharpening her blade. Adam tinkered with a salvage beacon, its antenna cracked but not beyond repair. "Why are you helping me?" he asked finally. She looked up. "Because my mother once told me that every war begins with one person deciding another life is expendable. I will not be that person." Adam smiled faintly. "She sounds wise. She was," Leora said, her voice low. "Until she wasn't. She died believing peace could be bought. The Thalaner paid too much for that illusion." Silence stretched between them, heavy but not cold. The only sound was the soft rumble of Ember's sleep and the faint clicking of Adam's tools. He glanced up, studying her face in the dim light. "You miss her." "Every sunrise," she admitted. "And every battle." He nodded. "I get that. My mom. She used to say the same thing you did earlier. We fight, then we bake. I thought it was just something Mom said. But I think I get it now." Leora tilted her head. "Do you?" "Yeah," he said quietly. "It means you keep something good alive, even when the world isn't." She smiled soft, genuine, fleeting. "Then perhaps you're a Thalaner after all." Before dawn, Leora woke to the faint beep of Adam's beacon. The signal light blinked green. "You fixed it," she said. He grinned, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Mostly. It's weak, but it'll reach the eastern tower if we keep it charged." Leora's face hardened. Then we move. But before they could break camp, Ember hissed a low, warning growl. Blue's wings flared. Leora turned toward the horizon. There, emerging from the dawn mist, came 3 Vasic patrol skiffs, sleek and black, their lights scanning the desert. Adam's breath caught. They found us. Leora rose, her cloak whipping in the wind. No, she said, voice cold and clear. We found them, Ember roared. Blue's wings flashed. The sun rose behind them like a promise of fire. The war wasn't over yet. The desert's horizon shimmered with heat, but it wasn't sunlight that made the air ripple. It was engine fire. 3 Vasic patrol skiffs swept low over the dunes, moving in perfect formation like wolves on the scent of blood. Their black hulls glistened, symbols of the house carved in silver along their sides. A single watching eye. Leora crouched low behind the ruins, her gaze sharp, voice a whisper meant only for Adam and the dragons. They're hunting us. Keep low. When they get close, we break north into the ravine. Ember guard rear. Blue scout. Ember rumbled deep in his chest, eyes glowing like molten copper. Blue darted upward, a flash of sapphire against the pale morning sky. Adam checked the energy cell on his rifle. It was nearly drained. His palms were slick. If they're this close already, he muttered, how do we outrun scanners and airspeed? Leora's lips tightened. We don't run. We mislead. From her belt, she pulled a narrow silver rod, a flare shard. Thalander tech designed for battlefield illusion. She pressed it into Adam's hand. When I say so, drive it into the ground and twist. It will create decoys, heat, and light, enough to fool their systems for minutes. Understand? He nodded. And you? She met his gaze with a quiet steadiness that made his heart stumble. I'd buy you those minutes. Before he could protest, she was already moving swift, silent, a blur across the sand. Her cloak flared as she climbed to a higher ledge, rifle slung and blade drawn. The skiffs closed in, engines howling. Blue shrieked a warning. Leora didn't look up, she felt it in her bones. The lead skiff opened fire, plasma bolts tearing through the ridge. Sand exploded, glass shards flew, the heat turning the air white. Adam dropped to the ground, shielding his head. Now? Leora's voice cut through the chaos. Now. He slammed the flare shard into the ground and twisted. A surge of light exploded outward, 3 shimmering figures of heat and movement, perfect illusions of their group sprinting in 3 different directions. The skiff split to follow, weapons blazing at ghosts. Leora fired from her vantage point, striking the nearest craft stabilizer. Ember dove from above, claws extended, flames streaming from his throat. He slammed into the second skiff, metal shrieking as dragonfire met alloy. Blue shot past Adam in a blur, landing beside Leora just as the third skiff veered low, targeting her position. Leora! Adam shouted. She rolled behind a rock, drew a small disc from her belt, and threw it. The detonator flashed mid-air, then shattered the skiff's left wing. It spun out of control, crashed in a storm of dust and flame. Ember roared triumphantly, but didn't see the danger in time. The remaining skiff, the largest of the 3, had locked onto him. Twin cannons glowed white-hot. Ember! Leora screamed. Adam didn't think. He ran into the open, grabbing the damaged beacon still flickering with green light. Overload, he muttered, fingers flying across circuits. Come on, come on. He tore 2 wires free, crossed them, and the beacon began to whine. Hey, you metal vultures, he shouted at the sky. You want heat? Have some? He threw it high. The beacon exploded in a flare so bright it blinded the skiff's sensors. The cannon's misfired one struck its own wing. The craft tilted wildly, clipped a dune, and smashed into the sand. Ember landed hard, wings folding protectively over Adam. The shockwave rolled past them like thunder. When the smoke cleared, the desert was quiet again, too quiet. Leora jumped to Adam, her hair singed, her blade blackened. You're insane, she said breathlessly. Probably, he replied, grinning through exhaustion. But it worked. Blue landed on his shoulder, chittering proudly. Ember gave a short huff that could almost have been approval. Leora knelt beside the wreckage, scanning for survivors. Vasic soldiers don't travel without trackers. We move now before reinforcements arrive. Adam looked at the wreck. Wait, there's something in there. He climbed up, ignoring her warning. Inside the cockpit, half buried under twisted metal, was a data core still pulsing faintly with blue light. He yanked it free, burning his palm in the process. Leora's eyes widened. That's a command core. Vasic tech encrypted, but full of records. Navigation, orders, names. Can you crack it? Eventually, she said. If it survives the tower transfer. Then let's make sure it does. They traveled until dusk, cutting through the ravine that led toward the eastern tower. The air cooled, turning sharp and dry. The dragons took turns scouting, their wings stirring dust into spirals that glittered in the fading light. Adam stumbled more than once, but kept moving. You ever get tired? He asked. Yes, Leora said simply. But I've learned not to stop because of it. He chuckled softly. That's poetic. She looked at him sidelong. Poetry and survival are the same art, Adam called her. They reached a sheltered alcove beneath a stone arch, where Leora signaled a halt. Ember curled protectively around the entrance, and Blue settled into Adam's lap without invitation. As the stars emerged, Leora began connecting a small series of rods and lenses, the field transmitter she built from scavenged parts. Adam watched, fascinated. You built that by hand? She nodded. Thalaner engineers were trained to mend what others destroyed. He smiled faintly. Guess we have that in common. For the first time, her expression softened into something warmer. Perhaps that is why the dragons trust you. Blue cooed as if in agreement. When the transmitter finally pulsed to life, it emitted a steady, rhythmic signal, the call pattern for the eastern signal tower. Now we wait, Leora said. If they hear us, they'll send an escort. Adam leaned back against the rock, eyes half-lidded. And if they don't, then we walk, she said. Do you ever wish you'd chosen an easier life? He asked quietly. She thought for a moment, watching the night wind ripple through Ember's wings. I once wished for peace. Now I wish for purpose. Peace comes and goes. Purpose endures. Adam nodded slowly. I think that's what I was missing back home. Then perhaps the stars brought you here to find it. He smiled, exhaustion softening the edges of his voice. And maybe a few dragons, too. Leora almost laughed, but stopped when she noticed something flicker in the transmitter's reflection. A shadow across the stars. Then another. Down, she hissed. Ember's growl rumbled through the stone. The air filled with the faint hum of engines again. Too precise, too synchronized. Adam's heart sank. More skiffs? Leora's hand gripped her weapon tightly. No, worse. From the night sky, a massive Vasic gunship descended, its hull marked with the insignia of an admiral's fleet. A deep voice echoed through loudspeakers. Thalaner Commander. Human fugitive. You are surrounded. Surrender the data core and the dragons, and your deaths will be quick. Adam's stomach turned cold. They brought an army. Leora's eyes burned gold in the firelight. Then we will show them how small armies can be. Ember roared, shaking the canyon walls. Blue's wings flared like twin blades of light. Leora raised her sword toward the descending ship. War first, she whispered. Cookies after. The Vasic gunship blocked the stars. Its engines howled like angry gods as it descended into the ravine, wind scattering sand and shards of glass. Its hull loomed above them, a beast of steel and vengeance. Leora stood on the ledge, cloak snapping around her, sword drawn. The dragons flanked her. Ember's copper scales shimmered with reflected firelight, and Blue's eyes burned cold blue-white. Adam crouched behind an outcrop, the data core clutched in his hands, pulse hammering in his ears. Leora, he said quietly, we can't fight that. Her voice was calm, as if she were discussing the weather. We won't, not directly. What does that mean? It means we make them choose between winning and surviving. Before Adam could question her, a voice boomed again through the gunship's loudspeakers, icy, controlled, unmistakably human. Leora of Thalaner. You cost House Vasic 2 patrols, a relay beacon, and 3 pilots. Return the human and the core, and I may let your dragons live. Leora tilted her head slightly, eyes narrowing. So the viper shows its face. You speak boldly for a dying species, the voice replied. Your world is ash. Your treaties are dust. Your warriors bake bread while the stars burn. Her jaw tightened, but her voice was like steel. Better bread than betrayal. There was a pause, then soft laughter. You sound like your mother. Liara froze. The memory hit like a blade. You knew her, she said slowly. I did more than know her. I sold her peace. She paid for it with her army. Something broke inside Liara's eyes, a spark gone nova. Ember snarled, feeling her fury through the bond. Blue's wings snapped open, trembling with energy. Adam gripped the data core tighter. Liara, he whispered, don't let him pull you into rage. That's what he wants. But she was already moving. Ember Sky, flank. Blue Pulse, attack. The dragons took flight, fire and light tearing through the dark. The gunship's turrets whirred to life, unleashing a barrage of plasma bolts that turned the sky into chaos. Liara sprinted up the ridge, leaping between jagged stone ledges, each step echoing with purpose. Adam, she shouted over the din. When the light flares, throw the core into the sky. What? Do it. The battle at the ravine. Ember Dove, flames spraying across the gunship's ventral plating. Blue darted through cannon fire, her body a blur of glowing wings. Liara launched herself from a high ledge, landing on the hull with a shock that rattled her bones. Her blade sank into the armor, sparks flying. Inside the ship, alarm screamed. Target acquired. Deploy suppression gas. Vents opened. A hiss of toxic vapor poured out, but the wind shifted, caught by Ember's wings. The gas twisted back toward the ship, clouding its sensors. Adam saw the opportunity. The gunship's targeting lights flickered. Liara looked down from above and met his eyes. For the first time, she smiled not grimly, but with something fierce and alive. Now, Adam. He hurled the data core skyward. Blue shot up after it, exhaling a beam of plasma that struck the core dead center. It ignited in a flash of blue fire, a flare so bright it could be seen for miles. Liara drove her sword into the deck, the light from the explosion reflecting in her eyes. Your lies end here, Vasek. You think you've won, Elf? The voice snarled over Combs. That core was just data. Liara raised her hand. No, it was a signal. Far off across the desert, a tower answered. A low hum built in the distance, then grew into a roar. The Eastern Signal Tower had received their call. Its defensive network activated, beams of azure light arcing across the sky. One struck the gunship dead on. The impact rippled through metal and engines alike. Fire poured from its vents as systems overloaded. The ship tilted, engines sputtering. Ember, down. Liara leapt from the collapsing hull just as it began to fall. She hit the sand, rolled, and came up running. Ember caught her mid-stride, wings buffeting the air. Blue darted ahead, trailing sparks. The gunship slammed into the ravine wall in a storm of smoke and flame. The explosion echoed through the iron wastes. For a long moment, there was silence. Then Adam's voice broke it, soft, unbelieving. Did we just win? Liara looked at the rising smoke. We survived. That's better. Aftermath. By dawn, the wreckage was cold. The ridge farms had sent riders and drones to investigate the explosion. The Thalaner banners, white threads woven with silver flame, fluttered once more along the cliffs. Liara sat near the edge of the campfire, polishing her blade. Ember and Blue slept close, curled protectively around her legs. Adam approached with 2 cups of steaming brew. Peace tea? He asked. She raised an eyebrow. You remembered. He smiled. Hard to forget when it nearly burned my tongue off. Liara chuckled softly, a rare sound that seemed to lighten the morning air. So, Adam said, glancing toward the dragons, what happens now? You go back to your people. I try to figure out if I can ever go home. She studied him for a long moment. You could stay. He blinked. Stay? The ridge farms will need engineers. The dragons seem fond of you, and... She hesitated, then said quietly, war is not won by weapons alone. It needs hearts that still believe in something worth mending. Adam looked at her, a slow smile spreading across his face. Are you offering me a job or a life? Liara's lips curved slightly. Both, perhaps. He raised his cup in a small salute. Then I'll take both. Blue chirped happily from his shoulder. Ember opened one golden eye, unimpressed but tolerant. As the first rays of sun touched the black glass dunes, Leora looked toward the horizon, the place where the war had begun and perhaps ended. Her voice was soft but certain. "War first," she said. "Cookies after." Adam laughed quietly beside her. "Then let's bake." If this story sparked your imagination, don't stop here. Subscribe now and join our galaxy of human alien adventures, new stories every week.